Thank you for joining us on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, we'll talk about the Bulls being interested in John Collins and how long did that interest last before the Bulls are now rumored to be in the favorite position to land Rudy Gobert, which is a turn of events. And finally, we'll end the show. PJ Tucker is officially going to opt out of his contract. Should the Bulls be interested in taking a look at PJ Tucker? We'll do all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. Locked On Bulls is a member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. That's Pat, the designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central. And before we get started, one live NBA draft show is not enough for Locked On. Every show is going live on draft night. So join me and Pat 15 minutes after our pick on Locked On YouTube for the immediate reaction from us, our experts. And then subscribe now to Locked On Bulls so that you'll know when we go live. All right, Pat. Now that we've plugged that, draft night is going to be a fun night, bro. It's going to be a very fun night. But before we get into draft night, we got trade rumors. And this is going to be an interesting week because they're going to go all over the place. And today is a perfect microcosm of that. So we started the day with the Bulls saying that they had their eye on John Collins. And me and you both have put out videos talking about trade packages. Should the Bulls go after John Collins? That lasted for all of about 3 hours before it seems now the Sacramento Kings are moving into the pole position to land John Collins. Now, because nothing is solidified until the deal's actually made, what do you think about John Collins' potential fit on this team if the Bulls were to pursue him? And then do you think we're missing out on anything if he does end up going to the Kings over the Bulls? What do you think?
I think John Collins would be a fit here. I mean, like I said on my video over on the Breeze, right? Like, I feel like John Collins is the basic version of what we hope Patrick Williams becomes. So he would fit here. He would be able to play offense, be able to score. Not as good of a defender at all that Patrick Williams projects to be. But at least on the offensive end, right? You know, he can come out, he can give you that 17 points a game. He can give you eight rebounds a game, things that can help Vooch, possibly Marco in the future, depending on where this team goes with it, right? He would fit here. He'd be a nice power forward on this team. Question of health is there for me, right? That's the biggest question in my book. How healthy is he going to be for $125 million? By the way, he's played 1 year of that contract, so he's still owed $100 million on this deal, basically. I wouldn't mind a trade for John Collins, but I'm kind of to the point now, right, where what the Bulls would have to give up, where he's $25 million a year, you're probably including some form of Patrick Williams in that deal, unless you plan on getting an end of the bench deal like they did with Christian Wood, which I don't know if Atlanta's looking for that because they're trying to jump right back into the ECF again. But if you make that move, is he going to be there long-term for you? That is the big question around John Collins. He literally got $100 million, $125 million. And the first thing he said in the following season was, I don't see my fit with this team.
I mean, but I understood that. No, because you get the most money re-signing with your current team. So I can understand him re-signing with the Atlanta Hawks and then being like, hey, man, listen, so yeah, I know I signed to 2026. Thanks for this contract, by the way. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to stay here.
Hey, it's a wild thing to me that we're at that point in the NBA, right? For me, you sign that contract, you're committing to it, rock with that team. I get the money side of it, but I mean, like, what's to say he won't do the same thing with the Bulls? Right? Like, what's to say he won't do the same thing with the team that we bring him into?
The good thing is if that does happen, right, he's still young enough to where his trade value, unless he just lays a dud of a season, isn't going to go anywhere. He's only 24 years old. So and I understand your concern. I'm not saying that I disagree. I'm just offering a counterpoint. Only 24 years old. He'll be 25 in September, so before the season starts. He still has 3 years left on that deal. So even if he plays one season with the Chicago Bulls and then does the James Harden where, hey, I want to get up out of here, there's enough still time on that contract plus youth that I don't think that even if you do trade him, it's not like you're going to get pennies for him at that point.
I wonder what he's going to be with this team, right? I wonder if it's worth it to give him up, pay that contract, even on a him being here. Like, does he want to be here long term? It's him being here, and does he stay healthy enough to be here? That's the other concern with me, right? With Patrick Williams, yeah, he hasn't been healthy, but he don't make no money.
Well, let's
He's a
be
very
clear
cheap
here.
player. He's a very cheap player.
He played 71 games in a shortened season last. I don't remember how many games it was last season because it wasn't the full 82.
John Collins?
No, I'm talking about Patrick Williams. You said Patrick Williams isn't healthy either. Patrick Williams has been fairly, like, he had the one major injury this season.
One major injury, I'm
saying.
Yeah. But if that's right, if that's the caveat where people, because there are the P. Will people who are like, nah, man, like, move on from P. Will because he ain't healthy either. And at least if we got somebody we know when he's on the court, he's gonna give us 16 and 8, 17 and 8. I'd rather have that. The thing for me is he going to be healthy? Is he going to consistently be on the court for the Chicago Bulls? If not, we're in the same position, and we're paying him $125 million to be in that position. That's tough for me.
Oh yeah,
but I like John Collins, the player. I do. I like the fit with the team. It's a tough situation.
So here's my question to you.
Drop 125.
Here's the question. Well, and that's the funny thing is that you were in on Gobert at 40. But with that being said, right, $100 million
on the floor. Yeah. Gobert hasn't had really a lot of major injuries.
That's fair. That's fair. But okay, if the deal is not Patrick Williams, what if it's a combination of Vooch, Kobe, and the 18th pick? Because technically, Vooch's contract almost gets you. Technically, they can do Vooch and
Vooch straight up.
And Javante and get enough to, and the pick to get enough to bring in Collins. If it's without P. Will, considering I know you see Patrick Williams as a long-term 3, not a 4. So considering then maybe your front line in the next season is Pat moves back to the 3, and you got John Collins at the 4. The Bulls will still have to use their mid-level exception to go get a 5.
Yeah.
But does that make it a little bit better for you if you're not trading Patrick Williams in that deal?
I think it makes it better, right? Because you don't know if Vooch is going to be here long term. I would definitely rather have the 24-year-old guy. He'll be 25, I believe, this season.
25.
So I'd rather have that guy in the building, the youth. But then the question comes, right? What is your long-term future? What does that look like? When you have to repay P. Will, what does that look like? When you have to repay Ayo Dosunmu, right? Are you going to be able to do that? Because you've already paid Lonzo Ball. Do you feel 100% confident about that contract being successful for you? So there's a lot of question marks for me where, especially with all the news that came out today around Brother Irving and all that, you might want to have some cap room depending on who the disgruntled superstars are that are moving around the NBA. I'm not talking about Kyrie. You never know if KD's staying in Brooklyn at this point.
I mean, and the Bulls are, and as much as people talk about the Bulls' salary, if they don't bring in another player with a long-term big money deal, the Bulls do, I think the last projections I saw can be between $18 and $20 million in cap space when DeMar. Now, that's if they only sign someone if Vooch doesn't resign or he resigns to a shorter-term contract and maybe opts out or whatever. Maybe they re-up him for 1 year for so that his free agency overlaps with DeMar's. They can get not max level for some players, but they can get considerable cap space. So
I think they could do decent with it. You could find some ways to do it. Of course, AK can make the money work. I think that's the one thing we've learned from this modern NBA. These guys can make the money work.
You can make the money work.
You be like, there's no way they got cap room for him, and then LeBron's in LA. You be like, wait a minute now, hold on. How this just happened? I'm very confused right now. So that's kind of the big thing there. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to a deal that doesn't involve P. Will. I'm gonna be real with you. P. Will's not like the saving grace part of it for me. I still have the question mark, even if it's Vooch, even if it's Kobe. Is he gonna beat it? Right? If he's gonna play, if he's healthy enough to give me 60 plus games a year, I'm fine with that. Bring him in here. I like him. He's 16 and 8, 17 and 8. He's 23 years old, 24, somewhere in there. He's gonna continue to get better, you would think. The hold for me isn't P. Will. The hold for me is John Collins going to give me more than 50 games a season.
Okay, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. But like we said, all this is almost for naught because reportedly the Sacramento Kings are interested in and they are having discussions actively with the Hawks about that trade. But anyway, that's that segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about Rudy Gobert. The Bulls now have been reported to being back to being the favorites to land Rudy Gobert, according to some NBA execs. But first, I got to talk to you guys about PrizePicks. Are you looking for a daily fantasy option for the NBA? Then you need to try the award-winning app PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. I love this, and we know you will too. It's easy to use. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over/under in their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entries. Just you versus the projected numbers. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. PrizePicks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from points scored to rebounds, even steals. PrizePicks allow for more mixed sports entries. You want to combine what's going on in the NBA summer? I'm sure they got summer league stuff. Plus the MLB. Listen, you can get it. And PrizePicks doesn't just offer NBA. They also have options for college basketball, college football, NFL, MLB, soccer, MMA, and more. For a limited time, PrizePicks has an exclusive no-brainer offer for all of our users. Users get $50 free if a player in our first PrizePick entry scores a single point, but you must use the code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available to Locked On fans. Sign up today and use the code NBA for $50 free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point. All right, Pat, let's get it.
Let's get it.
All right, we got to talk about Rudy Gobert. So we had all but said when the Atlanta Hawks made that offer, or that reported offer that included John Collins, their 16th pick, Kevin Huerter or whatever, that the Bulls were probably priced out of the Rudy Gobert market. Well, now with John Collins reportedly maybe on the move to Sacramento, the Bulls are now reportedly backed by some execs being favored to land Rudy Gobert. What do you think about that, brother?
Backed by one of our own partners here at the Locked On Network, man. Locked On Nuggets reporting that earlier today.
Here's my question, though. How does Locked On Nuggets have that? And now I'm not doubting the host.
I was thrown off by it as well. I don't know.
How do Locked On Nuggets have the inside scoop on what's going on with the Utah Jazz? But you know what? Hey, everybody got sources, right?
It's out west, bro. That's all I know. But this is the thing, right? So here's the interesting part about it that I have the question on. We heard the astronomical package that it was going to take to get Rudy, right?
Mm-hmm.
If John Collins is gone and they really feel there's no way that Donovan and Rudy can coexist on this team, does that mean that no matter what, Rudy Gobert will be moved? If you feel like two players can't coexist and you're hurting your team, to me, it's not worth it for you to waste a year. But if you're going to make that move anyway, do we now see the Utah Jazz take a lesser package? That's the question that you got to ask there. I feel like they're not going to have a lot of options on it.
Oh,
the teams that we thought were going to be the big players in Rudy Gobert are now seemingly out of it. John Collins from Atlanta looking like he's going to go out to Sacramento if that's a move that does get done right. To me, Atlanta doesn't have the means to make a deal like that happen. A Rudy Gobert deal, I'm saying. Dallas was the other big team that we thought was really going to be a big player in that, right? Like, unless you see Rudy Gobert sitting in Detroit somewhere, I don't really see Utah with a lot of options here on where they're going to send Rudy Gobert to, that it's going to work. What are you going to send him to the Lakers for the 2029 first round pick and a player yet to be named? Like, here's
my question for you. I'm gonna throw something out there that is definitely something that we could possibly see happen that nobody would expect.
Let's see it.
What if the Golden State Warriors offer Wiggins, considering he's in the contract year, and Wiseman for Rudy Gobert? And you can't tell me that's not something we can't see the Golden State Warriors pulling out of it.
I don't see them pulling the trigger on that because of the kind of big Rudy is, right? Like Wiseman's a big dude, but Wiseman still runs the floor really well.
This is true.
When he was on the floor. When he was on the floor, he ran the floor really well. You know what I'm saying? Like Rudy Gobert is still kind of what he is. Why would the Golden State Warriors slow down their dynamic? And clearly it's a dynamic that works. 2022 NBA champions. Shout out to Draymond on every media outlet today.
Bro, Draymond is living his best life.
I love it. I love how petty Draymond is getting to be. But like that's my biggest question, right? Like, that's why I say there's not a huge market anymore. For Rudy Gobert.
Wouldn't say that, bro.
I think it's because of the package that they came out with, right? Like, you come out with, we want a young player, a young aspiring star, another player, and a pick. Okay.
Bro, I would not say don't look past a random team like Golden State. I wouldn't say don't expect that Toronto may not try something. I would even say that the Suns could possibly try something, hearing that Ayton may move on. Just because we haven't heard from other teams right now, I wouldn't say that. Just think that there's no other market for him right now. Teams may just be playing their cards close to the vest.
Price though, it's not to say there's not a market for Rudy Gobert, but at that price.
So here's the thing.
Utah's asking a high price for Rudy Gobert. That's
the
thing.
But for a player that's already disgruntled, like for example in Ayton, if they were to offer that right there, that one piece is better than any one piece that the Bulls can offer.
No, 100%. No, if Phoenix wanted to make a move like that, again, it might work in Phoenix a little bit. Chris Paul's still there, pick and roll with CP3. Rudy Gobert, at a minimum, right, is going to get 10 shots with CP3. You have no choice. I could see that move working out of anything, right? But even then, right, like if you weren't going to pay DeAndre Ayton $32 million, are you going to go up to 40 for Rudy Gobert, who's, I mean, I guess kind of similar. Not really. Defensively, Rudy's going to bring more than Ayton is.
And Chris Paul can get more out of Rudy Gobert than any other guard.
I could see that move happen. I don't know how the cap space is for that, but you would have two $40+ million players on your team.
This is true.
That's a high cap. You know what I'm saying?
This is very true.
I don't know if that's going to work. So those are my question marks with it, right? It's really just the deal. I think you could see the deal start to come down. I think Utah talked themselves into a James Harden, Ben Simmons deal. I think they came out and they said, you're going to give us a pick, you're going to give us a player, you're going to give us another player to make the money work, and he better be a young aspiring star that's on low money. And then now it's going to be, all right, so we'll send you Rudy, we'll send you a late second round pick, and we'll take the money off of the top. I think that's really where they're heading in this situation.
I guess where I sit at it is that because you very well could be right. I'm not saying, again, offering things for a counterpoint, but I just have a hard time believing that, considering how few trade chips the Bulls actually do have, that a team can't come up with a better package than the Bulls. I think
Toronto's the perfect one.
Yeah, I mean,
you can send OG, you can send, you know what I'm saying? You got some pieces there that you can send. You already feel like Scotty Barnes is an ascending player. You're holding on to him. He's not going anywhere. Okay, you want OG Anunoby? He scored 16 points a game last year. We'll send you Siakam. We'll send you a pick. Send us Rudy. Like, I feel like
that's a damn good. That's a package.
I feel like they have the package to give, right? But then the question mark comes in: what's the better team? Is it Siakam, OG, Scotty Barnes, Fred VanVleet? Or is it Fred VanVleet, Scotty Barnes, Rudy Gobert? So that's why I think the Bulls are still in play on it, right? Because, like, we're sending you, like, if Utah's doing this, you're essentially trying to reset.
So are you saying, is there a possibility, and I presented on Bull Central today, a possible 3-team trade in which it is the Hawks, the Bulls, and the Jazz, in which the Jazz walk away with both the 16th and the 18th pick?
That could be. I could see that more than anything to me. And the interesting thing with all of that is that it's about what the teams want to do, right? Like if Rudy's as disgruntled as he say, they know it.
Yeah.
AK knows it. I can't think of his first name. Masai up in Toronto knows it, right? Like, these guys know it. Masai Ujiri. These guys know if Rudy Gobert is as disgruntled as he says he is, or if that dynamic isn't working like they say it isn't, they'll hold their cards. They're not going to pay that the crazy price that I think Utah's asking. Now, a 3-team deal, you might see that a little bit more, right? Because then it's the Bulls sending maybe Vooch and a pick, or Atlanta sending Collins to the Bulls. Like, there's some variation of something that's going to go down. I think you might be able to see that a little bit more than just a straight up 2-team deal where Utah's getting everything they asked for.
Yeah. And I mean, there are also some reports coming out that the Jazz are considering going full rebuild, getting rid of Donovan and Rudy.
Well,
if that happens, expect that if that happens, the draft, throw all the mocks away. Throw every single mock draft away. Ball it up, throw it away. Because that would ruin everything.
Just for them to not get out the first round yet again. Hey, man, before we get to this final topic, man, We got to tell y'all about rockauto.com, man. You already know this episode is brought to you by rockauto.com. And with the ever-increasing number of makes and models and gas prices, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless and seemingly intimidating questions like, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? And wait while a person behind the counter orders the parts on the computer, choosing only the brand that their warehouse happens to carry at rockauto.com. Why would you don't have to choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts as a chain store or car dealership. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers over 20 years, and they have everything you can need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even new carpet. So go explore their easy-to-use website today. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, right locked on in their How'd You Hear About Us box, so that they know that we sent you. Amazing selections, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's
Bam. All right. So one of the things that make this such a fun time is that we get to speculate on things that probably ultimately aren't going to mean nothing.
Won't happen.
Right? Because PJ Tucker has opted out of his contract, and of course, so many Bulls outlets, Bulls, where more than likely he's going to re-sign with the Miami Heat and get a couple of extra million on a probably an extra year or something like that. But with that being said, let's speculate. Let's have some fun. PJ Tucker, would you be interested in him coming to the Chicago Bulls?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be the same PJ Tucker. Nah, it all, again, depends on how much money this mug wants. But I watched PJ Tucker shut down Giannis as Miami PJ Tucker. I watched PJ Tucker give Giannis fits as Miami PJ Tucker. Not once, not twice, but 3 times this season. Yes. I would absolutely take PJ Tucker on this team. Somebody who, and sometimes, right, it's just a strategy move. It doesn't even have to be this is the best move available. Now, granted, PJ's still going to get the bag to me. I think, what was he making last season? I don't even remember.
7.5, I believe.
7.5. He, like you said, he's probably going to get a little bit more money. He's probably going to get a nice little, 11 to 12 mil 2-year deal with a player option in the second year. That's all front loaded, right? Like, I fully see that happening for him down in Miami. But if he does become available, I would absolutely pay him, not even just for the play on the court, but to give the Bulls a little bit of an edge, a little bit of nasty, a little bit of, hey, you're not going to push my guys around. Like when Alex Caruso goes slamming into the hardwood and nobody says anything to the guy that did it. I'm not saying you got to put a fist in his eye, but it would have been nice to see a little chest to chest, a little body up, little, yo, we're not doing that out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would pay to get a little bit of an edge. That's a real edge, not Tristan Thompson yelling and Ayo DeSumo confused on the bench. And then I would pay for it just to get the insight into how he's defending these guys. The Bulls need help defensively, not just on the defensive side of the ball, figuring things out, but also on defensive scheme. Guess what? I can't play Giannis the way that I play this guy, the way that I play this guy, the way that I play this guy. There's no clamps in the Bulls building right now outside of Alex Caruso. And as much as I love Alex Caruso, I can't send him out there to guard Giannis for 40 minutes.
Good point.
I would absolutely take PJ Tucker in the building, if for nothing else, to pick his brain and figure out what's going to be the best defense versus a lot of these players, and have somebody with the body that's able to do it, or at least to teach Patrick Williams how to do it. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing for me.
Agreed. I think I look at it like this: is that the only concern that I have with PJ Tucker is that he'll take up so much of them. Now, keep in mind, I think a lot of people forget too, the mid-level exception can be split between multiple players.
Yeah.
So we have $10.1 million mid-level exception. Technically, you could sign 2 players for $5 million. And you still have your veteran minimums and things you can use. But with that being said, PJ Tucker, if he's already on a 7.5, you got to look 8% increase in the second year. So you're looking at that starting salary being around 8.5 million with an increase going into that second year. That takes up the most part of your mid-level exception. Is PJ Tucker worth the biggest signing chip that we have? That's the only question that I have there.
Is he worth the biggest signing chip that we have? You know what? It sucks to say, and I feel like it's a cop-out answer on top of it, but that's really a question that you would have to answer depending on what he gives you, right? Like, would Miami say that he was worth it for them to have because they didn't run into Giannis, right? That's why they got PJ. They got PJ to play against Giannis. They didn't run into Giannis. They didn't have to deal with Giannis. Boston got Giannis. So now you're talking about, okay, well, we were worried about that as the best. PJ didn't give us everything that we thought he was going to give us here. Can Miami say that he gave them the bang for their buck, right? I mean, unfortunately, you have to wait and see. I would take a chance on it, right? Because I feel like it would put your team defensively in a different mindset, and a team that listen, it is a defensive team, right? Like at the end of the day, it's still Lonzo, P. Will, Alex Caruso, Ayo Dosunmu. None of those guys are Lonzo is, but out of most of those guys, right? You're not talking about shooters out here. You're not talking about offensive demons out here. You know what I mean? We're talking about guys that you put out there to be defensive juggernauts and lock down the other side's best player. I think PJ Tucker would be an excellent asset into that. And you know, PJ in that corner three, man, they like this out here. So you finally have somebody off of the bench who can consistently knock it down. I would give it because everybody else you're bringing in, right? Like, I mean, who are we using now? We've said Mitchell Robinson a million times, right? Is Mitchell Robinson going to be the key to shutting other teams down defensively? That's the question.
Well, the thing is too is that it's not about, but in the playoffs, not as we've seen, it's not about shutting down somebody one-on-one. And I weigh it this way: yes, PJ Tucker brings intensity, he brings leadership to somebody who's been around for a while, but the Bulls, bottom of the league in offensive rebounding per game, bottom of the league in pick and roll defense, right? No matter how good the guard defense, the guards that you mentioned, like PJ Tucker brings a lot. I want to see the Bulls then would have to bring somebody else either through a trade or through the draft or something, because I still look at that front line that we need as the biggest thing, our biggest need in the offseason right now.
I would agree, but I also have to remember that we're looking at it with a pretty much an entire season of no P. Will. Right, like what does that front line look like with P. Will standing next to Vooch? And I know there's a lot of people that say P. Will is not a power forward. I tend to agree with you. I think he's a small forward, but right now you've got DeMar. You got to play small ball when DeMar's breaking Wilt records. But I think there's always, right, like a lot of this is the development of the same name we keep saying. We need P. Will to be the fourth pick in the draft worthy.
Yeah.
I think bringing PJ Tucker into the building could help you with that, and help you with your defense, and help you with your offensive rebounding, and help you with, right? Because it's just adding a big body into the mix, and somebody that's not going to get pushed around. And I think I'm going to be real with you. The Bulls got pushed around a lot last year, especially in the paint. When your defensive leader is Nikola Vucevic, you're going to get pushed around a little bit. I don't think I've ever seen a tough moment out of Vooch, to be honest with you. Like, it's
no. And in a couple of those Boston games during the regular season, Vooch absolutely shows some toughness. Now, I won't say that you can't say, hey, that's worth the whole season of it. I'm not saying that, but yeah, Vooch showed some flashes of toughness.
Well, see, this is my thing, right? When I'm saying like getting pushed around, like you couldn't send Vooch. Like everybody complains about the Milwaukee series and what it was, and I think the Bulls' makeup absolutely plays a part into it, not having another real big man. But you couldn't send Vooch in there. Yeah, there was no way you could have sent Vooch into the post where he dominates at. Because there was three dudes down there that absolutely was going to be pushing him around.
Also, though, granted, had the Bulls been able to shoot from outside a little bit better, you could have got him a little bit of space, right? I'm not saying you could have gave him a lot, but you could have got him a little bit of space. Yeah. The way the Bulls were shooting three, literally the Bucks just was like, you know what? Make them beat us from three.
Bro, if anybody could. No, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
I feel like you need that. We need that, and not to say that PJ Tucker is that, but we need to find or turn somebody on this team into that Joakim Noah kind of player. The guy that no matter what is going to stick up for your guys. He's gonna be the vocal leader on the floor. He's gonna be the guy. We got a lot of calm guys on this team. Zach LaVine is probably the most fired up guy on this team, and Zach LaVine really don't get that fired up. Like he just kind of look at the refs and he'd be like, you know, you're supposed to give me that call, right? Well, you missed it. All right. Yeah, I mean, like, I need a little.
See, I understand, and a lot of Bulls fans put that fire. But at the end of the day, like, you can be all fired up you want, but you need skill on the floor. Now, I'm not saying PJ Tucker's not skilled, but while we're talking about bringing in defense and us needing defense, guess what? PJ Tucker in 27 minutes a game, what his defensive rating was last season, and this was the best defensive rating of his career.
The best of his career?
He had the best defensive rating of his career last season.
109.
No, 115. Guess what Vooch's defensive rating was last season?
His was like 111, wasn't it?
No, it was 108. He had a better defensive rating than PJ Tucker. So I'm like, don't get me wrong. Like, I would love PJ Tucker as a secondary signing to your main, getting what you need mainly. I love, but looking at spending most of our mid-level exception on PJ Tucker, I can't get with. I'm not saying that he may completely get in there and do his thing, but I don't know.
We'll see. I don't know. Hey, PJ, I'm not mad. Listen, there are players I'd rather have than PJ Tucker, but if we're left with nobody,
I feel you.
I would take PJ Tucker on that mid-level exception.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think that's about it, though, my boy. Don't you? We think we covered everything pretty much.
Yeah, that's it. That is it for today.
You good? You zoned out a little bit. You okay?
No, because I was thinking about the fit of would Billy Donovan actually play PJ Tucker and P. Will together, and that would be a heck of a defensive lineup.
I think he.
Imagine Javonte, P. Will, and PJ Tucker out there at the same time,
and Javonte actually gets to play the 2 guard.
Yeah, he actually gets to play the 2.
I think he would have to.
Yeah, he would have to in that.
Yeah,
that's If
you
my
bring
bad.
PJ
I was daydreaming about our Bulls actually winning some games. You know, that's it, fam. That's it. But go ahead, man.
Hey, man, I was wondering why you were looking at it so lovingly. Hey, man, follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Man, we appreciate y'all for showing so much love.
Yep, absolutely. And you can follow me at CEO Haize, the CEO Haize. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, the mock draft. The actual draft is coming up, not the mock draft. Go and check out NBA mock draft. It's the scientific method. Now, like I said, Kyrie ends up being gone. You can ball up every mock draft, throw it away. It's going to be completely gone. But with that being said, go and check out NBA Mock Draft. It's available wherever you get your podcast. That is it from us for today. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This is Locked On Bulls, and we see you lovely and beautiful people tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Peace.